Hi, everyone. So, this is just a quick message before the tutorial starts. The Dreams beta was extended to 10 a.m. February 5th. So that gives me like 4 extra hours to stream and also to record tutorials. So, if you want anything like from like a person, like an actual tutorial and not a stream highlight, let me know in the comments now, because I won't be able to make another professional tutorial video until the whole game comes out, and I have no idea when that is, but it'll probably be sometime after February 20th, because that's when they said they'll have more news, is February 20th. So yeah, let's get into that tutorial now. Hello everyone. Today we are going to be modifying our pickup system to be more advanced, more like an RPG system. So you can equip multiple swords, not just a banana sword. And in order to do that, I'm not going to be doing a tutorial on how to make menus and stuff like that, at least not yet. So I'm just showing you how to make stuff like that. So what you're probably going to want to do first off is get another weapon. So let's find a new sword, and we'll make it, oops, so it has to be a sculpture. Steel greatsword. No. No. If you do that, I'm not picking you. There we go. This works. Let's resize it so it is the correct size. Why is it stuck? Size thing. That looks good to me. And from here, let's get the logic picked up for picking up ready. So when you do an RPG system, depending on how in depth you want to do, you don't want this. So I'm gonna get rid of any reference to that. Just those two. And what you more want over in terms of expandability is a microchip, and we're going to call it inventory system. And from here, what we're going to do is we are going to come up with what an item should be defined as, and what an item should be output as. Like, if you want to pick up an item, like, what do you want to know about that item? In the future, are you going to sell items? Are you going to have carry weight? Are you going to make it so certain items can do special things? Well, or maybe you want to know what kind of item it is. So what we can do is come up with an item class. Now, a class is a term used by programmers. It's basically a bunch of functions and variables, and it's mainly used in object-oriented programming, but it doesn't have to be. And basically you're defining what an object is and what an object can do. So our object is an item, so we'll name this as a item class template. And in our item class, what do we want? Well, first of all, we want a combiner, and depending on how much you want in here, if you want to limit it to 1 wire, you would have max of 8 variables, but for now, let's do 4, and you can do quite a bit with 4. So first of all, what we want to do is define like the item amount. So this is how much of the item you have, and normally we would make this persist in your dream, and if you want you could do multiplayer. Not really going to be covering that though. So I'm not setting it persist in dream because this is just a template. And then from here you would output that and do this as stats, or you could do class info. That's what we'll do. This class info. So we go with something like player info. Stay with Dream's terminology. And then from here, when you are doing work in, for example, a menu screen or a selector to select which weapon you want, you probably want to input 1 wire instead of inputting a bunch. So what you would want is like a number that you can assign to an object. So for that, we can get out a value slider. Here, I'll make it bigger. And the value slider will be our ID, our identification number. That tells all our other logic that we're going to make what object this is. And we'll just give it a really high maximum value. I don't think you'll have over 305 items in your game, but you can make that higher if you need it. I'm not even sure if the thermo can handle it, but for now, we'll just do that. Now, you're not going to want to have an item have 0 ID. You want to use preferably integers only, and not floats. Floats are anything with decimal points after it. And from there, we'll want to say how much we have of the item. And then from here, we can also make something like what type of item it is. So if you have more than just weapons, this is what you'd want. And then we can have value, like how much you would sell it for. And again, you can increase the amount of variables you can have in your class info. Just, you want to make sure you understand what it is. And in order to help us with that, we can make a class discombobulator. And discombobulator is just a random word that means to, it's like an onomatopoeia, but I use it as basically to take something apart. Alright, so this is going to be our item info discombobulator. So this is going to be our custom splitter for basically any item. You don't need to use this, but if you are just starting out and you don't know what your classes are, and you're like, oh no, what does this mean? What does that mean? Like, which number is ID, which one is blah blah blah. Well, you can use a discombobulator. And discombobulator will just take in class info and we'll split it, and we will label the outputs with some nodes. So basically we'll just put down a bunch of nodes and we'll name them. So this is going to be ID, And then we have amount owned. And then we have item type, and then value. And then we can just output like this, and that way, when you ever need to use your item class, you can just use a discombobulator, or you could just use this, and if you know what you're doing, then it'd be much easier to just use that, because it takes up less thermo. Because these nodes, you can only have a certain amount of nodes in a level before the node outputs and inputs disappear. ID, yeah, I guess that's fine. Item type, let's do that, and then value, also that. Item type, I guess, let's do that. So now we have discombobulated item info discombobulated, that works. And then we have item amount, and then one last thing that we want is a modifier. So this way, whenever you use this class somewhere else, it's not that expensive to copy over. So, and just for a warning, if you want this to work properly, you can never turn off this microchip, because otherwise, if you modify the item amount, then it won't keep the data. It'll destroy the data. So let's call this modify value, and we will, I think, alright, so in here, what you want is a node, and this is going to be value. And we are going to, whenever this is not 0, we will turn on a value modifier. So that would be in here, and that goes on to this, and we will add, and when powered on, we will add, and this will power it on. So now we have a nice little item class, and we'll name this plus minus, and you can copy this and use this in your level wherever you need to use an item. And particularly, what you're going to want to do is basically make this its own item, like as a new creation. And then whenever you change this, you can go and update it in your scene using the update mode. And you can update anything in your scene. Like for example, this, if they modeled this differently, I could update it. But with this, I could save this as a separate object, and then I can go and change it. And whenever I change it and come back in here and update it, all the values would be changed. So if I wanted to change the value of something, I could. So now, what we're going to do is we are going to make banana sword, and we are going to make an iron sword, or whatever that sword is called. So what we're going to do is just call this banana sword class. Alright, And we're going to change it so the ID is 1, that's fine. But we need to change this to banana sword owned. Or banana swords owned. Whatever one helps you sleep at night. And then we have to change it in here as well. It's not that hard with this, because you can just do that. And type 1 for weapon, and value, let's give it a really high value, because it's a banana sword. Who wouldn't want a banana sword, you know? There we go. And then we'll have another item here. And then this one will be glass sword, I guess. That's what I want to call that sword, even though it doesn't look like glass. It's kind of like glass. Not really. It's like opaque glass. It's really shiny. This makes it seem mystical up here. It's like not connected, so it's like, what could this be made out of? Glass. That's what it's made out of. Okay. And we'll change this ID to the next one. Oof. That's one thing I don't like about sliders, is that it's really hard to get the number you want. And then it is a weapon, and we'll only make it worth 40 gold. Item amount. We need to change this to glass sword amount. Now, you should keep naming conventions consistent. So in here, I'm calling it banana swords. So I'm going to rename it to banana sword owned. And then glass sword owned is fine. And I need to change the modifier as well. There we go. And from here, let's see. Now we can use these as items in our level. So what I'm going to do is over here, I'm going to change this to add 1 to banana sword owned. Then on this guy, I'll do the glass sword owned, or amount. Yeah, so you should really keep that like consistent for yourself, so you don't confuse yourself. I'm a bit tired, so that's why I'm not naming it correctly. So over here, what we're going to do is I'm going to redo a couple parts of this. What does this do? No, seriously. What does this do? What? I'm so confused. Does this like do nothing? What is happening? X-ray. Okay, this genuinely does nothing, I guess. Doesn't seem to do anything. I think I made it to turn this stuff off. So let's just do that now. And then with this guy changes that and that. So what we want to do is most likely, instead of using this, we are going to make a hitbox. So instead of using just any old sword for our damage, we're gonna make a hitbox. Sure, this may not be like entirely accurate, but this way we can have any sword deal damage from the same animation instead of having multiple you know, health modifiers. There we go. So this is our hitbox. And what we're going to do with our hitbox is... Why is it turned off? I'm confused. Okay, well, now I'm not confused. Okay. I have the minimal setting for visual display. So what we're going to do is make it so this is collidable, but not visible. And it only collides with everything but friends. So basically it means it'll collide with everything except for the player, because that's what we set to be the debug option before. Okay, and now that we have that set up, I'm going to take this back and then put it on that, and now whenever our hitbox hits anything, it will deal damage. And now we also have, oh wait, no, we also light it up. We can do that as well. So what we're gonna do is make a node, and we're also going to make a button. I think this will work this way. No, actually I think we'll do a slider. And then when this is active, we'll do 1. And hopefully that fades out with it. Yes, it does. So with this, we can do like damage, visibility. And so we can use this for any sword that you want to have any visual effects on. So now that everything is animated to be just a general sword attack, we can rename this the sword attack. And what we're going to do is I'm going to set up the sword to be equipped now. So I'll probably skip through some of this because you've seen it before. Okay, there's one. There's 2. Alright. Alright, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to set it up so this is just called sword display. And depending on another variable that we're going to put onto the inventory system, and you can have different versions of these. So for like equipment other than swords, like for example a hat, body armor, and stuff like that, you can use the same general work frame. And what we're going to do is equipped sword. And with this, remember we had an ID set up earlier? Well, with that ID, what we're going to do is we're going to set it up so when you equip a sword, it will set this to its ID. So what I'm going to do is, just for this tutorial, again, this isn't like a menu tutorial or anything. That would like completely stretch the length of this tutorial like way utterly longer than it already is. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make a new microchip using this. And I'm just going to set the variable of equipped sword to be our variable, the ID, and I know the ID of the item, so I don't need to use the item class that we generated over here. And then from here, I'm going to make it so those IDs are respected. So over here, first off, I'm going to turn this off. And I'm going to rename this to sword display. And for now, what we're going to do is we're going to set up some AND gates. So we're going to make it so you have to own the sword in order to equip it. So that would be a couple of things. We need glass sword amount and banana sword amount. And we're going to make it so, well, that's actually to be over here, so I need to modify that. So if you have the sword, you can do it. That's not for here. Over here, it would be equipped sword, and we are going to use a selector for now. You can use something else that's more sustainable, because selectors only have a certain amount, so you could probably use like equals ports and equals to your ID that you want. And then from here, for the first one, we'll do this and that and that, and then actually, you know, this is actually going to be something else, because this you can toggle if you have any sword, so we're not going to copy it. So we're going to say greater than 0, and we press triangle, then we will equip it, and we're going to equip whatever sword we have like on person, which is set using these. So from here, we're going to do another 2 AND gates, and I'm going to make it so this would be output B. Actually, yeah, this goes into here. Silly me. And dot and dot. Not A, need B down here. There we go. And let's see, is this working properly? Kind of. I need to increase. This says it's 0, right? Yeah, so I need to increase this count by 1, and then move these that way. If you have nothing equipped, you have nothing on. That's unequipped. Alright, and then we're going to copy these, so unequip, it's going to go to the glass sword, and then the equipped is going to go towards the glass sword again. Oop, went one layer too deep. Thank you, Speedy Bunnies, for following. I'm going to turn on the sword model when it's equipped. Alright. And now we should be able to equip both of them. And also pick up both of them. First, I'm going to make this... I'm going to fix this logic a bit. Kind of forgot something. we need to make it an AND gate. I'm gonna do this and owned glass swords is more than one, so we can use basically just this output and that should work. And then this one is going to be banana sword. Alright. Oop, wrong guy. I'm gonna pick up both, and then over here. Now why isn't it working? Yeah, I switched around the IDs, that's why. Oopsies. So that's one, and then let's look at our class. ID is 2 for the glass sword. Oh boy. I made a mistake. Probably because I'm tired. It's 1. Alright. Now I can pick these up and then equip this sword and equip this sword. And we have the same button to the like unequip and equip animation, so let's see. Now it doesn't appear that the animation plays when with the glass sword, so let's debug that quickly. Let's see. Oh, you know what? It's because I didn't do this. There we go. We could really do, though, instead of more than one, is we can take this out. This should work. There we go. And am I damaging him at all? I should be. Did we make it kill him? It's like negative 100. Did we not update the animation? I bet we didn't, or something like that. Yeah, this should turn this on. This health modifier. Yep. Okay, there we go. I guess we killed him in one way. Okay. There we go. So that is how you make a more advanced RPG inventory system. You can do the same thing for like skill trees, except for skill trees you would have like more variables in here. So for a skill tree, for example, you might want to have like a required stat value, like you need 10 charisma, so you would do the skills type, which would be like if it was charisma, strength, or whatever, and then requirement and skill, and then another one for, let's say for like what level, like character level you need to be. But for now, that's all for this tutorial. So thank you for watching.